こんにちは。最初はちょっと日本語でお話ししますけれども、今日はこの量子芸術祭の、ウェビナーのですね、第2回目というか、昨日はほとんどイントロダクションだったので、ほぼ第1回目ということになると思うんですけれども、アーティストのエイミー・カールさんを、お呼びして、ですね、これからの、量子コンピューターとか、そういう、量子技術とアートっていうのはどういうふうに関わっていくのだろうかと、そういうところをちょっとお話をしていきたいと思います。Okay. Hi, Amy. Good evening.
Isan, thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure to see you.
My pleasure. Okay. Let me introduce artist Amy Carl. She's now online from Bay Area in US. Yes. And she specializes in speculative art using emerging and exponential technology, including quantum technology. She participated in Studio Quantum Artist in Residence program organized by Goethe Institute. Today we talk about how can we perceive touch of quantum mechanics as a humanity from Amy's perspective. I think I will do some presentation at the beginning. Is it okay for you? So this is my purpose to collaborate with Quantum Art Festival as a science journalist. Quantum Art Festival is a artistic exploration of quantum age. The aim is making quantum technology, like quantum computer, humanistic. I believe art is a key to open up the mystery of quantum physics. Through the art, we can understand something unfamiliar as humanity. I am amazed by physics. I have a great respect for the progress of modern physics as it strives to discover the one and the only truth of this world. This is a example of something unfamiliar to us in quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics has transformed our understanding of reality. In classical physics, on the left, it was believed that state of an object was definite and independent of observation. For example, an apple is an apple, whether or not we observe it. It was also assumed based on Einstein's work, no physical effect could propagate faster than the speed of light, a principle known as locality. However, this is very difficult. In quantum mechanics, at a microscopic scale, it's a very tiny world. It is the other side of our world. The state of a particle remains undefined until it's observed, existing a superposition or the so-called multiple possible states. Furthermore, a quantum entanglement, it is illustrated in this movie, has been shown to create strong correlations between distant particles, even these particles separated by vast distances. This phenomenon is often referred to as non-locality, though it doesn't involve actual faster than light communication. Yes, it may sound like teleportation, but no information is transmitted instantaneously. These quantum properties are universal at the microscopic level. However, the macroscopic world we live in, the bigger world, then their effects vanish due to the coherence, which is why we rarely experience them in everyday life. This remains one of the deepest mysteries of the physics, a reality that lies beyond the limits of human perception. Then artists will play significant role here. This is one of the latest work of Amy Carl, named Echoes from the Valley of Existence. It is showcased in 2024. I saw it SciF, Sapporo Kokusai Geijutsu. This is an interactive art explores what we can leave behind after death in this world through technology and what we should leave behind. I believe Amy can explain better than me, but I continue. The front circle as you've seen before, embodies a quantum sphere, a dynamic interplay of particles and waves, offering a glimpse of a future where the boundary between technology and humanity blur even further. It evokes the essence of quantum technology, built from the same fundamental atoms that from everything, including us. Or perhaps it whispers of non-locality, entanglement, and unseen forces waving through space itself. A subtle invitation to wonder, to question, to imagine what lies beyond. The viewer of this exhibition witnesses their own biodigital footprints called echo through real-time body tracking and biometric authentication. They can also make their own DNA a part of this work, along with message. I did it before. And these will later be launched into space. And now, finally, it is on the way to the moon. Congratulations. So, to conclude, this is art's role. Artists make us aware of things that exist outside of our perception as humanity. In this webinar, we will explore how can we perceive the touch of quantum mechanics as a humanity from Amy's perspective. Thank you. Okay, I stop my screen and please do your presentation. Please, Amy.
Think about how much our digital technology has impacted our lives, how our digital computing has permeated almost every aspect of our beings, our minds, our bodies, our infrastructure, our environment. Now, try to imagine how much quantum technology has the potential to impact us, especially because it's based on atoms and the ultimate constituent of matter itself, the building blocks of life. We are on the verge of a quantum revolution, one that will impact every aspect of our lives. Quantum computing will process at speeds beyond human comprehension, challenging not only our technological frameworks, but our cognitive and philosophical frameworks as well. And because quantum technology is built on the atomic level, the same level which life itself is constructed from, the boundary between what is biological and what is technological will dissolve even further. So what happens when we and our world become quantum integrated? The core principles of quantum technology, grounded in the fundamental nature of the universe, challenge us to rethink how we innovate and understand the world. Advancing computational speed and advancing communications is a key aspect. This will be faster than we can perceive, than we can think, than we can imagine. And ultimately, it will drive a deeper shift in how we perceive, interact with, and shape our reality. When quantum communication and quantum technology becomes as popular as digital technology, I think we're going to be forced into a fundamental shift. And this is going to be more than a paradigm shift. It's going to be new ways of living and new ways of being. This kind of computing happens so much faster than we can think through or perceive. When we think about using our AI technology already, this is something that happens so much faster than we can perceive and comprehend, and it causes overwhelm. So imagine when we have something like a quantum computer that can process in unfathomable speeds. It's something that we can't comprehend. We can't do things the way that we used to. We're going to have to find a new way of doing things. Forcing things, the old way of doing things into the new technology is not going to work for us. This technology is going to reshape us societally, emotionally, physically. It's going to change our bodies, our beings, and our evolutionary trajectory. And this is where art and design really becomes critical. Art allows us to perceive beyond what we can understand. It allows us to go into a different way of knowing, a different way of thinking. It's oftentimes beyond the thinking mind, if it's of a different realm. It provides different ways to experience, interpret, and even shape these shifts before they can overtake us, to give us a glimpse into this future. And design sets a framework for us to work towards and create the preferable futures using this new technology. So once we get a glimpse into what it could do, into these potential different futures, then we see that we have an opportunity to do something about it. And design is one of the tools that empowers us to help us get there. I'm Amy Carl. My life's work is dedicated to probing what it means to be human and what it means to be alive, and the implications of emerging and exponential technologies on humanity, evolution, and the future. I work as an artist because this is the realm that I research and communicate through the best. My way of learning and sharing is experiential and visual. I'm diving into understanding quantum in this absolutely fascinating arena of what a quantum future could look like, where we're so enmeshed with quantum technology and quantum computing that we become vastly different beings, vastly different species. Exploring the potential implications of integrations with our body and consciousness, and the intersection of quantum technology, artificial intelligence, and biology, envisioning what that could be like to exchange energy and information with our surroundings at a quantum level. What will that be like? When computing and communicating is embedded in a matrix of biological processes like DNA, neural networking, wet AI, when computing is both within us and all around us, and the boundaries between what's nature and what's technology further dissolve. In this future where technology and biology merge with quantum, we have the opportunity to rethink how we approach every aspect of life, evolution, health, thinking, even the nature of reality. With this convergence of quantum tech, bio, and AI, all these things coming together and happening at the same time, affecting each other, impacting each other, we're not only on the cusp of this fundamental shift in our understanding of life and consciousness, we're on the brink of a fundamental shift in our lives and consciousness. This fusion isn't going to just advance our tools, it's going to fundamentally reshape what it means to be human and what it means to be alive. And I can't stress this enough. As we work with the building blocks of existence itself, atoms like those that form our bodies and the environment around us, and our technology is also made out of this, the boundary between what's technological and what is not will really dissolve. What is that future going to look like? That's what I'm asking questions about. That's what I'm studying. And we might not even have the opportunity to realize or think about us. It might be beyond our comprehension because quantum applications, quantum technologies, quantum computing happens so much faster than we can think in ways that maybe we can't fully process. So even though scientifically we can understand a part of it, there's so much more happening that we just can't foresee, we can't perceive. And it'll force us to have these fundamental paradigm shifts. So as an ultra-contemporary artist and futurist, my focus is on how emerging and exponential technologies like AI, biotech, and now quantum computing shape not just the future of technology, but the future itself, the future of life, the future of evolution. What excites me most about quantum tech is its potential to reimagine and potentially actually reconstruct the very nature of reality. I see these unbounded opportunities for creating new expressions and experiences. It's a future where the lines between technology and the self dissolve, and we can explore these totally new dimensions of being. I'm curious how many of you here, when you started learning about quantum mechanics, had this experience, had this mind-opening experience. When we actually engage this technology and it permeates our society in the amount and the ways that our digital technology has, how is that just going to change who we are, how we think, how we approach life, what our society is like, what our bodies are like? And in this future where technology and biology merge at the quantum level, the boundaries between what's digital, biological, and physical just keep dissolving, forcing us to have these fundamental shifts and reimagine everything from how we heal to how we grow to how we create to how we construct. The potentials are limitless, and it's more critical than ever to ask, how can we co-create a future that honors our humanity and the natural world while also exploring these vast possibilities? These are fundamentals based in the natural world. So how do we use their principles to honor and what it means to be human and honor our trajectory? Really think through that. Quantum physics is a profound shift in our understanding of reality. And if art perpetually reimagines how we see the world and shares different ways of experiencing the world, quantum technology will likewise transform how we build and live within it. As we embrace nonlinearity, probability, entanglement, quantum tech will create previously unimaginable ways of processing information, communicating, and even perceiving time itself, ways of being in the world, in space and time. In parallel, art keeps asking the questions that upend our assumptions and reshape our perceptions. Art can shine a light into the unknown, turning this abstraction into experience. And design in this process becomes a bridge, taking these newly revealed possibilities and materializing them into tangible, interactive, and human-centered forms, nature-centered forms that we can engage with, that we can understand, that we can participate in. Together, art and design can help to ensure that as quantum reality unfolds, we experience and guide it with insight, empathy, and imagination. If we use this technology to make art and design, if we use the technology directly in the process, art and design becomes more than an expression. It becomes this portal to unexplored dimensions of bridges between the known and the unknowable. It offers the potential to open up new ways of perceiving and interacting with our environment, of becoming one with it. And we stand at this threshold of a new era of creation and perception with these technologies, with this potential to reshape our understanding of reality and our place within it. Art can help us have an experience of this, and design can help us think through and work through how to ensure it's a place that we want to end up. Quantum physics prompts us to rethink our understanding of the world and our place in it. The use of art and design can be a language and a methodology for exploring and engaging complex principles about quantum, about life. And I find myself asking when I make art inspired by or using the actual technology of quantum or the science behind it, does the abstract become more tangible through art? Or is quantum actually is quantum actually more tangible than we realize? And the artist can channel it through the abstract into an understandable way. Sometimes the science could be really difficult, but if we can have an experience of it, we can just immediately know it, we can immediately feel it. So in that way, art can offer an opportunity to gauge it. And I've mentioned design a few times. Design really plays a crucial role in shaping how we interact with, understand, and integrate quantum technologies into our lives, right? So if we can have a glimpse into what these technologies can do, if we can have a glimpse into what quantum mechanics is, what quantum physics is, how do we actually use those technologies? If art can help us perceive the quantum shifts and see them coming, feel them, then design is what materializes those shifts into tangible, usable, and interactive forms, into ways that we can actually process and ensure that we're shaping a better future with them. Design can ensure how, or can shape how we interact with this new reality, right? Because we're going to be coming across new things. So how are we going to engage this new reality? How are we going to engage these new technologies? Earlier, I mentioned we can't just have the old way of doing things and put them into the new technology, because we're going to just get exponentially faster and more of the same. And it's not going to work. And it doesn't make sense to use our innovations that way. We're entering an era where technology will process faster than we can think, where information will exist in states of probability rather than certainty, and where the boundary between what's biological and what's technological will dissolve even further. So quantum design is not just about aesthetics. It's about creating systems that help us navigate, engage with, and even expand our perception of this emerging world. And one of the most important questions is, what kind of quantum designed future do we want to create? And I think any of us in this field can ask these questions, not just artists, not just designers. Art and design does not just reflect reality, it shapes it. If quantum mechanics tells us that reality is shaped by observation, then we, not just scientists and technologists, but also artists, creatives, other experts working with quantum, have an immense responsibility, because the choices that we make now about quantum interfaces, environments, interactions, how these are designed, how these are used, they're going to directly impact the kind of future that we have and we experience, and the legacy that we leave for generations to come. So this is what I'm really concerned with and what I'm deeply looking at. And I've long explored exponential technologies. My career trajectory over the past 20 years has been using exponential technologies like AI, biotech, generative systems, both as subjects and tools in my practice. And I was also really interested in exploring this bio-quantum AI future, but I hadn't directly engaged with quantum physics. And then I was nominated to apply for Studio Quantum. And Studio Quantum, as Aki-san mentioned, is an international artist-in-residence program initiated by the Goethe Institute. It was designed to explore emerging quantum technologies through the lens of art. And the program was amazing at connecting artists, scientists, technologists, and cultural institutions to investigate quantum across many realms, the ethical, ecological, creative implications of these kinds of quantum advancements. And they set up amazing situations for exchange, research, collaboration, dialogue making, sharing the work, and most importantly, this cross-disciplinary and cross-cultural exchange in order to foster a deeper engagement with quantum science and its impact on society, technology, and perception. The residency provided an opportunity for me to expand my work into this frontier where quantum tech, biological intelligence, machine, and other intelligences could converge and shape the future of life and consciousness. It was an absolutely fantastic experience. When I went into it, I had a research topic. I wanted to continue to research this convergence of bioquantum AI with the body in the future, see where it would go, but I really didn't know how that was going to look. And so I kicked off the residency with 2 weeks in Berlin, and I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area. So the part of this program is a cross-cultural exchange where they send the artists to different areas. My area was Berlin, and I did have some overlap in Lagos, Nigeria as well. And in Berlin, I met just so many amazing and inspiring experts. And I've been working through exploring quantum concepts and multimodal quantum representation and engagement in my work ever since. I enjoyed continuing to check in with many of them virtually and explore how I can utilize quantum principles and concepts and technologies in my art. I'll show you a little bit more of that. So I would say I started to mention this cross-cultural exchange, and not only was the art science exchange exceptionally important, but I think that I should not downplay how important the cross-cultural exchange was. So I'm based in San Francisco, and that is one of the locations that they had the residency. I have 3 young kids, so I asked, can I just do it here? It made more sense to do it here. And they're like, no, we really think it's important for you to go. And I learned that this different ways of thinking, cultural ways of thinking was so important too. So I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I am fortunate to have access to tech companies working and scientists working in quantum tech. Here, we often approach quantum technologies and almost all our technologies with an innovation-based approach. So working towards an end goal. We want to build the supercomputer. In Berlin, it was much more experimental approach. So it was much more of like, let me set up this experiment and see what I'm going to learn at the end. And this is really important for me to see, to grasp both ways of working through and thinking through quantum, especially as it relates to our role in shaping a quantum future, right? We have to think about these different ways of approaching it, work with different cultures, work with different fields. And something else that was remarkable about this residency is that it wasn't just the opportunity to explore quantum as a theoretical concept, but the chance to think about how art, design, and quantum technology could intersect with life to offer an experience of quantum across many different realms, not just the technological, but also the societal, the ecological. So during this residency, I asked, and I shared a little bit of this before, but I just first went in and asked, how can I grasp and share the complexity of quantum physics as an artist? How do I first just grasp it, make sure that my science right, make sure that my thinking and understanding is right, and then how can I grasp it so profoundly in my body, in my shared experience, that I can also share that experience with others so that others can feel it how I feel it? How can I express it and offer reality that quantum reveals, that quantum technologies reveal, one that is so profoundly different from the physical reality that we generally know and that we experience now? How do I get a glimpse to that quantum future and the quantum that exists all around us as well, especially when our bodies and this time when our bodies, our beings, our world, and our quantum technology would merge? Like, how far out in the future would that be? Would it be through communications in like 30 years? And what does that look like? And when I started this residency, I mentioned I hadn't worked with quantum technologies. I knew very little about quantum physics and mechanics. And I applied with a concept for the residency that I'm still exploring, quantum bio AI future, or bio quantum AI future. We can say it in different ways, but it's this emergence of these fields coming together. And I propose to explore the intersections, these intersections with key guiding questions. Like, how could quantum technologies merge with biological intelligence, artificial intelligence? What is the next step? Like, when our artificial intelligence gets to, we need some more computing power, how do we switch that over to quantum tech? How might energy and information be exchanged at the quantum level? What happens when computing is no longer external, but then it's embedded with us, like in DNA and neural networks, or even in consciousness itself. What would that be like? At the time, I had no idea how this would manifest or how quickly or not it would translate into art and design practice, as I was just super new to the field. But I had the freedom with the residency to go in and just ask questions and not have to produce something. So that was really amazing. And my art practice is one of always trying to ask better questions. So I try to ask questions and always get to better questions. I don't necessarily come up with answers, but the more I can hone in on the questions, the more that I can hone in on preferable outcomes, preferable futures, and hopefully inspire some experience of awe, of revelation. So I didn't, like I mentioned, I didn't know how long this was going to take to manifest. And I had so many meetings with experts. We discussed everything from theory to technical aspects to space and time to identity, materiality, immateriality, life and death. And I was just so inspired. And I have here some of the different institutions that I worked with, and I think maybe it's better for me to just show my screen a little bit of some of the institutions that I worked with there. Einstein Center for Digital Futures, Humboldt University, IRIS, the German Aerospace Center, KIT, the Technical University of Berlin, the UDK University of the Arts, House of World Cultures, a museum. And that was just a few of the institutions that I engaged. Also the Goethe Institute across multiple locations, including Lagos. I exhibited in Japan, which wasn't directly through the residency, but was showing artwork that I made through the residency. And then in the House of World Cultures as well at Berlin. And as I engaged with physicists, theorists, and technologists, I followed the path that revealed itself to me. So I went in with a certain question, but then other opportunities arose. And the surprise highlight and entry point for me was my exposure, deep exposure to quantum communications. I didn't know that's how I would go into things. The transmission of information using photons and entangled quantum states. And a lot of that was because of the experts I had access to at Humboldt University. So this allows for secure data transmission and quantum information processing. And then I even had the incredible opportunity to tune a quantum communication system. And that's what I was doing here in this video. And I had the privilege of visiting labs where researchers are working on quantum communications. This field is just really poised to revolutionize how we transmit and secure information. A lot of governments are really interested in it. And witnessing this in intricate setups of lasers, fiber optics, and ultra-sensitive detectors gave me this really tangible sense that we're just at the very beginning stages of this technology. Like the older technology that's behind me, this is a vintage analog computer. This is what it felt like to me. And so, it's one thing to understand the theory, but seeing the actual apparatus that the entangled photons and that can entangle photons and transmit was just really awe-inspiring to see people there that were actually building this. And then to realize that this table, which is like a full-size picnic table, and there was buildings full of them, that one day, perhaps all of these tables will be, and the buildings even will be on something the size of a chip. So to think about this construction that's being built right now will be scaled down into like the size of a computer. So this residency wasn't just about learning the theory, but understanding how to engage with quantum concepts experientially. And going in and seeing this was a huge experience. The journey really expanded my perspective on how quantum mechanics and quantum technology will shape not only technology, but also shape human perception, intelligence, and the future of existence itself. And my time with Studio Quantum in Berlin had a really profound impact on my work. Surrounded by pioneering research and thought leaders in quantum, the residency allowed me to deeply consider the scientific, philosophical, and ethical implications of quantum tech, focusing my perspective on how these technologies long-term impact over the next century. So when I went in, I was thinking about this future, but I was really looking at now, how is this going to shape us over the long-term trajectory over the next 100 years? So I was talking about how I had key questions that I went in with. And then as I immersed myself deeper into this quantum research, I honed in further to pose questions like, what does communication look like in a quantum AI driven future? So those original questions I had, now I was breaking down further, trying to ask better questions, more refined questions. What does intelligence look like when it's shaped by quantum and AI? Could quantum technology change how we create, how we think, how we evolve? Those were kind of some of the more fundamental ones. And then it went in and honed in even more on interdimensional communication and preservation over long term, how intelligence, memory, and meaning could be encoded and passed through time. Thinking about where the fields of this intersection of quantum, AI, bioart, space, humanity, biodesign, where do these fields converge? How could they shape our future? What would be my role in that? Thinking about the body as data, DNA as a storage medium. So DNA, neural networking, how AI and quantum computing could act as co-creators, merging biology, technology, and space-time through these living media. And I was mentioning my practice is always one of trying to ask these better questions. And this inquiry directly informed my resulting artworks. And the residency structure was supposed to be 2 weeks in person and then 2 months total. But I ended up continuing my residency for quite some time, about two years in total. We were in a foundational, in a beginning group of Studio Quantum, but now there has been a few cohorts. And I continued my residency afterwards as I worked from my studio and made the artworks. So I just continued to meet with the experts from Studio Quantum, even though the official residency was over. The discussions throughout this process were absolutely incredible, and we all made really great relationships. We found it to be super valuable for us all to work together. I had the amazing opportunity to collaborate with quantum physicists who helped me translate these abstract principles into something that can be visually or experientially expressed. And I would also have them check my work to ensure it was scientifically sound. I don't want to be speaking about something that I might not have the science right on. So they gave me these scientific insights, but they were also just super inspirational. And they were helping me to ensure that my pieces were not only inspired by quantum ideas, but actually informed by the latest quantum research, and when possible, integrating quantum tech, integrating quantum principles into the work itself, actually using that to make the work. And I also collaborated with other specialists as well, writers, art institutions, curators. This is all equally vital as well, because they help shape how the work is presented and contextualized to broader audience. Like, quantum is very hard to understand for some people, but through thoughtful curation and writing, these abstract concepts are brought to life and can be shared through the artwork, enabling audiences to engage with them more intuitively, more understandably. And our collaboration continues to inspire and inform my work. So I would like to now show you the arc of my quantum practice and what I developed over my time at Studio Quantum. So an initial exploration that I developed from Studio Quantum is I was focusing on visualizing quantum paradoxes and quantum communication. So initially I was asking, what does it mean to exist in a world that is governed by quantum mechanics? What does that look like? I'm a visual person. I want to see what it looks like. And I was trying to understand that. So these are some works of exploring visualizations of quantum paradoxes, leveraging artificial intelligence and data visualization to explore and convey these enigmatic principles of quantum physics, like superposition, entanglement, wave-particle duality, the fine structure constant. And I'm still working on non-locality and decoherence. But this was interesting because I would work with the physicists, and they would pull up like, hey, here's the Nobel Prize winner in physics. And they'd pull up the paper and they would pull up the image, and then they would start drawing over it. And they'd say, here's the problem. You can't represent these things in 2D form in a flat, just state, constant state, because then we're collapsing it, right? This is not in perpetual motion. So, so even though I was working on these concepts and had some some really beautiful visual outputs, it was falling short. And how do I explore principles like quantum ghost imaging? There was this issue with making these things 2D. So I started experimenting. What if these things can be done with light? What if the unseen can be illuminated, not just metaphorically, but like through the technology itself? So this work in progress is interactive light installations that explore quantum ghost imaging, a technique where objects are rendered visible without being directly observed. By utilizing patterns of light and shadow, the installation engages how we perceive reality, reminding us that much of our world is built on what we cannot see or fully understand, and offering an experience of whether the unseen is truly unknowable. So, what you're seeing here is not just artwork, but the journey in exploring how I could represent quantum. 2D static images didn't cut it. Moving image is better. Time-based is even better. But I wanted to actually work with it. I wanted to actually work with quantum principles and quantum mechanics. This could be done with sound. Some of these are best expressed through sonification, moving image and sonification. And I'll share how I combine moving image, light, and sound with this new installation that Aki-san was showing. In 2023, I was commissioned to do a piece in Japan for the Triennale on the future of death life. That was my prompt, to think about the future of death life 100 years or more in the future. And my thought was about how will we echo through our technology, our digital and quantum remains, our biometrics, our DNA. How will these live on after us? What stories will they tell about us? Echoes from the Valley of Existence is an interactive, adaptive, and responsive environment. It's an installation examining how our digital and biological data could form an other life or an afterlife, leveraging quantum principles, AI, and biometric data. And it explores the ways we can live out on outside of our bodies across various different futures, across quantum technology, and that quantum technology future is expressed here in this quantum orb in the front facing screen, and also through the sound, and also exploring how our biodigital traces that we leave behind and traces of us captured by technology may echo through time and space. Like when we're in an airport and we have our biometrics, all the photos that we take, all the text that we leave, what stories will those tell about us in the future? What is the engagement now? How will that be used in the future? What story will that tell about us? Also, our DNA, our healthcare data, how will that be used in the future? So this installation was really beautiful. It was really engaging, but I wanted to give the people the opportunity to understand that these echoes last longer than our interactions, longer than our lifetimes. I don't want people to just go in there and be like, this is a beautiful installation, and I'm engaging it and leave text, leave images, and then not think about it. And so as part of this piece, I gave people the opportunity to leave messages and DNA for the future that would be sent to space. So you can leave a text message if you'd like. You can capture your photo, and you can leave your DNA. And over 37 days, over 20,000 images were captured, nearly 8,000 messages were left, and around 5,600 participants left their DNA. And then that ensemble of imagery, text, data, and DNA was preserved in an archive that was launched into space and actually just landed on the moon. It was launched into space January of 2025 and just landed on the moon recently. To me, a really interesting part of this piece is, would you leave your message, or would you leave a message, or would you leave DNA? Would you leave one or the other or both? Why or why not? It really makes us think about what we leave behind and our potential impact through space and time. And I mentioned there was a quantum element as well. It has all these different elements. So the artwork reflects the visitor's biodigital echoes through real-time body tracking, biometrics, and digital twinning. That's me being mirrored, the mirror of a person in digital form. And it's modified by current environmental conditions. It's never the same piece twice. And so that rear display offers more of a direct reflection of the audience's presence, intertwining their digital twin with the text inputs. And it creates this experience of disembodiment into the digital, or like a phantom limb sensation. I get seasick, and I had kind of this like feeling of being on a boat. And it's heightened by this illusion of the reflections moving even when the viewer is still. And it asks if there can ever truly be replicas of us. In quantum communications, it's fundamentally impossible to make a perfect copy or a replica of a quantum state due to a principle known as the no cloning theorem. But, getting creative, starting to think through how there can never be the same twice. The front is more directly referencing quantum. Those are a few that are familiar with quantum. This might feel familiar, feel quantum. This quantum sphere dynamically transforms as participants approach. It reflects their presence and motion, shifting in size, color, and pattern and shape in this quantum referenced imagery with particles and waves. And it symbolizes a future where technology is built at the atomic level, the fundamental building blocks of all matter, a future where the line between technology and the self becomes even more fluid. It explores key quantum concepts and ideas that nothing is ever one thing and everything is always in flux, reinforcing the notion that at the quantum level, everything exists in a state of constant transformation. And these quantum principles serve as metaphors for the human experience. Superposition, for example, reflects the multiplicity of identity or the duality of the self, while entanglement mirrors the deep interconnectedness between individuals, societies, and ecosystems, showing how we echo through space and time as collaborative units, that nothing is independent. Information is never lost. That could outlast our physical existence, tempered with the idea of noise and degradation. So I was getting very creative with all of these quantum concepts. And this concept of the continuity of existence, the consideration of how we encode, communicate, and potentially perpetuate our existence through algorithmic, quantum, biometric, genetic means, how that may be enhanced through quantum technology. This concept of other life, afterlife, and the enduring essence beyond physical lifespan as explored through space, time, technology, consciousness, what we leave behind, and then thinking about that in the far future, like a billion years out and in cosmic terms. And bringing it back to the installation, to grounding all of that in the body, right? Because that gets really far out. To the feeling, to the understanding of how quantum may impact us. The soundscape for this piece was really beautiful. It leveraged waveforms rooted in quantum physics and healing frequencies. This work was done at Stanford University, and frequencies that may affect, or that affect, have been shown to affect cymatics of heart cells. The auditory element symbolizes and immerses visitors in the conversions of the physical and technological worlds through quantum. It's almost like a quantum healing. Their biology echoed in digital music grounded in quantum physics principles. The soundscape resonates with responsive aspects of the artwork, and it creates this sensory echo that enhances the piece's impact, and it potentially guides participants into varied states of consciousness. Many visitors reported a sense of relaxation or peace, and some of the docents always wanted to be in that peace because it just made them so relaxed of being in there for quite a bit of time. What you're looking at here is the acoustic signals through, I'm sorry, there's something over that. I don't know if you could read it. These are the slides from Stanford University showing heart cells being made into the cymatic patterns from, from these different waveforms. So the soundscape complements this quantum technology theme, leveraging waveforms rooted in quantum physics and healing frequencies. And I would say, I'm sorry, the engagement aspect. So the whole engagement aspect, the sound, the physical engagement, it shows that works that exist in a state of flux and are never the same twice. Their form is determined only when interacted with by the viewer. This piece was exhibited in Japan at the Sapporo International Art Festival in 2024, and in a really beautiful synchronicity, the day that it opened was also the first time that Japan landed on the moon. There's no way that I could have planned that. But much like in quantum mechanics, where entangled particles influence one another across vast distances. The timing of this event feels like a cosmic entanglement, linking the exploration of inner and outer spaces through quantum connections that transcend time and space, that transcend technology and the body. And when we're using artwork, we have those liberties, we have those freedoms to be creative and feel that enmeshment. We don't necessarily have to prove it to say, oh, that's really beautiful. And from that piece, that led me to be invited to make the artwork for the new version of A Golden Record. In the late 70s, in 1977, NASA launched 2 golden records into space. They're still going into deep space, and they contained what we thought was the best of humanity at the time. It's now almost 50 years later, and I was invited to make the cover art and then become a partner on a new version. This new golden archive is looking at, now that it's 50 years later, what is the best we have to offer now? What would be valuable for us to send to space? This new golden archive contains vast amounts of data from all over the world and biosphere, including DNA from plant and animal species, from our biosphere, repositories of human knowledge, many plant and animal species, and an AI LLM. So that's interesting. It could potentially be used to communicate the story of Earth and whoever may find it. So this could be future humans, extraterrestrials, or others. And this is interesting, super interesting, because it includes DNA, the actual seeds to restart elements of our world. And how would that impact who or what finds it? This work encodes human knowledge, DNA, the AI-generated information into billion-year materials for deep time communication. There's ceramics, which were made by Corning, and then there's also a synthetic amber that holds the DNA and seeds. So this concept of deep time communication is a concept that embodies the quantum idea of information permanence and the possibility of communication beyond human constraints. And also the actual etching of this billion-year material is a base of quantum technology in itself. It also used quantum art as cartography, data visualizations. I had to learn how to do these data visualizations to create pulsar maps using the hydrogen atom as the constant. And this is also leading me to sonify pulsars to hear what space sounds like, and the challenge of sending messages into space and the implications for unknown audiences. So it's getting me to think through all these technical aspects and quantum aspects. And then in a bigger question, what are the stories of our planet and humanity that we want to share, that are important to share across space and time? And working on such projects really enables us to delve deeper into the essence of what ideals we aspire to share and who we aspire to be. And we can envision those ideals. We're more empowered to work towards them. The design includes this updated pulsar map and imagery of humanity and Earth, and adds a new nod to the contents. It carries like DNA and seeds. And a big part of this challenge is, how could this be understood by beings that potentially have no prior knowledge of Earth, maybe don't have any eyes? So I think maybe what some of the most valuable things that we can share in this is the DNA, the actual building blocks of life. To me, this is the most important and intelligent thing we can share. Like, what if this crashes into the right conditions and there is no one there that knows how to read it or perceive it? But the intelligence of the DNA itself could potentially spawn new life. This is one theory of how life on Earth got started. It can also wreak havoc on an entire ecosystem. So with doing this work comes very profound responsibility. How do we even think through something like billion-year materials? But it launched, it went up, and this version is now on the moon as well. And there's another due for deep space in 2026. It's supposed to hitch a ride on an asteroid. So in summary, quantum mechanics already suggests that information is never lost. What if art and design we create today could echo forward into the future, into time, shaping the perception of those who come after us? As we look towards a future deeply intertwined with quantum technologies, the implications for art, humanity, and our understanding of existence are very profound. The convergence of quantum computing, AI, and biology, humanity, all of this coming together with quantum opens up unprecedented possibilities for understanding, expression, innovation, communication, and evolution. Quantum technologies offer new tools for creativity. And as with any major technological shift, quantum computing will raise important ethical, philosophical, and social questions. Beyond the technical possibilities, I believe artists and designers play a crucial role in shaping the broader cultural and societal implications. We can help to frame fundamental concepts and questions, offering new ways of thinking about the implications of quantum technologies on our lives. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and questions, and I'm excited to continue exploring the quantum art future with all of you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
It's so interesting to know the whole journey from Studio Quantum, echoes from the value of existence and to Golden Archive. It's quite interesting. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. すいません。ちょっと日本語に戻ります。今もし質問等あれば、ぜひこの、チャット欄に投げていただけると、僕の方でちょっと翻訳したりして、頑張りますのでよろしくお願いします。Okay, Amy, my first question. So science always shifting our perspective, and quantum physics is very fascinating. So again, how do you communicate with quantum physics? So quantum physics is very fascinating, but very difficult to understand. So how do you communicate with that, particularly on the residence program?
There's a few different paths of knowing. So one is educational, engaging with experts that could teach about quantum physics, and also for me to propose specific pieces or things that I'm working on. They can kind of fast track that learning by saying, hey, did you think about looking at noise, or did you know that actually the shape of DNA was discovered far before we could see it because of physics and noise? Questions like that would open my thinking, that their expertise could fast forward my learning or my direct knowledge. But then there's also the experiential way, being in the lab, seeing the experiments, actually getting my hands into a certain degree, and then seeing what can I take back to the studio and actually integrate into the projects that I'm working on.
Thank you. Oh, the question is coming. The first question. I have a PhD of theoretical physics and created artwork for about recent 2.5 years. I've exhibited them at the exhibition. There are many works with theme or motif of physics. Okay, this is not a question. All right. Congratulations.
I would love to see the work after, if there's a link.
Yes. There's a link.
Yes.
Okay. And we have next question. Okay, I think that quantum art is a bit different from simple science education. What do you think the differences are existed? How do you make the distinction?
Representing science through visual form is not necessarily using it in art. So I think there is a differentiation there. And it's a difficult differentiation that I explore a lot with all of my works. I do a lot of bio artwork. Where does the science education and science representation end and the artwork begin? So this is more of a challenging question to ask. For me, the art has to do with a few things. It's when am I not explaining a concept, but offering a doorway into awe and inspiration? And there's a point for me when my artwork takes over and I feel that. So like with Echoes of the Valley of Existence, I was explaining, oh, I made this beautiful installation. It was really special and moving, but it wasn't enough. And I needed to do something more. And it's that something more that like makes it, I feel like makes it the experience of art, makes it the larger experience.
It's true. I think this question is about science communication. I think so. この人は富田さんですかね。富田さん says, I think, how can I say? Okay, so what's the difference between quantum art and education to you? It's the same or both?
It can be the same, but I don't usually go into it thinking I am going to explain a concept. I think scientific education and immersion through experience and artwork and design is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But it does require a different and both kind of explaining science and making the
Yes.
artwork require at a certain point divergent paths of what else do we do to embellish the story? What else do we do to tell the story and offer the experience? So actually, my mother always thought that I would be a scientific illustrator and growing up. And she thought like she meant like drawing. But in some ways, I think about that often. I think about in some ways I am a scientific illustrator. But where I think a true scientific illustrator would offer more scientific detail and explanation that I may give in my talks or certain explanations, but in the piece itself, I don't necessarily offer that. I offer more of an emotional experience and posing questions for guiding to pose questions for a different kind of future.
Thank you. So you said a studio quantum residency takes 2 years.
So it was initially set up to be 2 months, but my
2
tenure
months.
was I ended up doing about 2 years, like unofficially, but then also going back to do some
Okay.
official things like some talks and some an exhibit with all of us together. Actual residency was intended to only be 2 months, but it was such a positive experience. And then everyone I worked with wanted to keep having calls and engage. And I had commissions from other sources. So if I'm applying my learning to the new work, why not keep going with it? And so I hope that I can keep learning. I'm just a baby in the field, and what I'm showing you, it will take me many, many years to develop my voice in the field. What you're seeing are my initial explorations, and I'm sharing it in hopes to inspire other people to engage their explorations as well.
I think it is ideal. I think it's a dream of a artist in residence, I think, because you have you created a deep engagement with quantum art, quantum physics in the residence. So what exact example are you have impressed with a quantum studio residency? Is it you showed before the experiment with a physicist?
For the exhibition that we had together, is that what you're asking about?
Oh, no. I just please give me some example impressions you had in a residency. Most
Like
significant impressions.
So, I mean, I had an absolutely amazing engagement, and something that I mentioned, like there was paths that it took me down that were unforeseen. I didn't know that I would get into quantum communication. I was hoping to go one path, but then I took advantage of the experts that were available and could work together. And then also there was some quantum theorists that really helped me develop my work and my thinking about it. And something that's really interesting too is how much they fight with each other. That they don't they think different theories and have different approaches.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, and fight with each other. And that was something that like I'm looking at scientists and science as if this is set until we have a huge paradigm shift and have another way of doing it. But quantum is this interesting field where it's just there's a lot of like, no, it's not quite like that. No, it's not quite like that. I think it's like this. I think it's like that. And that was it was really interesting to see that a critique and debate, and it helps you grow, right? And it helps me too to develop my own voice and not be afraid to develop my own voice.
Very interesting. And quantum studio quantum residency have new artist is coming now. So you have also have a communication with a new invited artist still now.
Yeah, so I'm looking up now the different cohorts. I mentioned I was in one of the first cohorts.
Yes.
And then they had open applications, and I think there has been I'm just looking now, and I can send you the website. I'll just send everybody the website. I also sent some of my contact in the chat if
Thank
you would
you.
want more there. But yeah, I worked through different cohorts. So I was with a group of artists. So the first one we were nominated and then had to apply and compete. So the pool was smaller, but they wanted to make sure there was getting people that have done residencies before. I think I was the only one that hadn't worked with quantum technology before. But then the other artists that applied in the subsequent pools were exceptionally talented, probably more when it was an open call. We're already working in quantum. We're like really talented. So we all continued to work with each other as well and get to know each other. And I have some amazing colleagues and deep friendships now from continuing to be engaged with that.
Very interesting. Okay, this is a last question, I think. So, okay, please give me, sorry, about your opinion on quantum art. I think bio art became a huge field of art, I think. So quantum art is a more emerging field of art, I think. So please give me your opinion on the future of quantum art.
So quantum art is, in my own experience, now different
Yes,
artists have
please.
different experiences with this, with bio art, and for the audience that isn't aware, I am established in bio art and the art
Yeah.
science field. Bio art is a direct usage of biology, and you see that in my space projects as well. Like I'm sending DNA to space. So we quantum art is different because you have all these different pathways in. You have a very poetic and existential pathway. You have the pathway of actually using the technology. You have the pathway of representing the concepts, of giving the experience of the concepts. So I think there's actually much more opportunity. I don't know if it's more opportunity, it's just different opportunity in quantum to engage what this field is. It's also a little bit more technically challenging. So bio art could be very technically challenging to have access to those resources. Like I use human materials in my own practice because I believe, humans can give consent. But other people and so that's very difficult. How do you access those tools? How do you access bioprinting? But you can also engage bioart by working with mycelium or working with other things that you could do in a DIY hacker lab, that you can do in your garage, that you can do in a university. So it is a little bit easier to access. You could just do stuff on your own. With quantum, if you actually want to use the technology, it's really hard to use. So even someone like me who is very, very fortunate to be in Silicon Valley, to have access to these tools, to do residencies like this, it's still hard to use actual tools in the making of the artwork. But like I mentioned, there are other paths in.
Okay, thank you. And one more last question is coming. Sorry. I believe you once said that if you can find the right question, you don't even need to seek an answer. I strongly agree. How do you maintain the intrigue and brilliance of a question when creating your artwork? I think this is especially important when incorporating quantum mechanics because the behavior of quantum things cannot be fixed to a single answer. It's true. Yeah, I agree.
That's a great comment slash question. So I think that, yeah, if you find the right question, it holds the intrigue itself. The question is the intrigue. That's what keeps you driving forward. And there is like the awe and mystery of what happens in trying to trace down that better question, or trying to work through that question. What are the things that arise in that? What do you learn? But when it's a really intriguing question, there's no answer. You never stop, and you could just keep searching it. So
That's
I
true.
feel that way deeply about like life and intelligence. I'll never stop asking about that. Never, like we don't have those answers.
Well, the answer is more like you. Thank you. I love it so much. Okay, thank you so much. Now we are closing this fantastic webinar. Thank you so much again, Amy, Carl, and see you
Thank you
soon.
for having me. Thank you, everyone.